Hello, welcome to Newsfeed, your daily dose of what people are talking about online, from news stories to what's trending. All right, let's begin in Ukraine, where Russia has ordered its troops to withdraw from the city of Kherson. But Kiev isn't getting ahead of itself just yet. They're treating the news with skepticism, with President Zelensky saying the enemy doesn't give out gifts. Yet this is a significant blow for the Kremlin. Kherson was the only regional capital they had successfully captured during their original invasion in February. And that's not all. It was the biggest prize in Putin's self-proclaimed annexed provinces. Well, that seems a little flat now, doesn't it? And here's Dasha with more from Moscow on Russia's withdrawal from Kherson.
The decision to pull the Russian troops to the left bank of the Dnipro River was never an easy one to make, and the Russian officials do know how unpopular that could be among the Russians. So that's why on social media they are trying to explain the strategic wisdom behind this decision. They say that this allows to save the lives of the Russian servicemen, that retribution is yet to come. Some of the Russians also say that future victories will be happening in spring. In the meantime, the Russian forces need time to accumulate their forces as well as to train those newly drafted in this partial mobilization. The critics, however, say that Russia has already surrendered some of its gains and wonder what's going to be left next. They cite the Snake Island, they cite Kharkiv, they cite Kiev, and the Western establishment is also speaking about what Russia could be losing next. Now, the opposition of the Russian Federation, who now live abroad, they also cite the words of Kirill Stremausov, who is from the administration of Kherson. He actually died recently in the car accident. He said, and was quoted as saying, that Kherson will not be surrendered until he is alive. So definitely we can see the Russian population now being sort of polarized and puzzled at what's going to happen next, particularly given the fact that for months they have been told that everything was going according to the plan. But now that the Kremlin announced that Vladimir Putin will not be going to the G20 summit in Indonesia, it's not clear what will be happening next.
Is the crypto bubble about to burst? A year ago, Bitcoin, the biggest of all cryptocurrencies, was worth an all-time high of $68,000, and on Thursday, it was worth just $16,600, including a drop-off of 25% in the past week. All this turbulence has come about due to the collapse of the platform FTX, where people come to buy and sell currencies. Here's our business producer, Paolo, to tell us more.
This time last year, the crypto industry was at the height of its powers. Everyone and their uncle was an investment genius in making plans to go to the moon. Now they've all kind of crashed back down to earth. Now, the combined value of all cryptocurrencies 12 months ago was around $3 trillion. Today, it's down to around $840 billion. What that means is a lot of people, including some in this very newsroom, have lost big. And accelerating the industry's implosion is the impending collapse of the crypto exchange FTX. It was on the verge of a bailout from rival Binance. That's after a barrage of withdrawals left it with $7 billion in liabilities. But Binance took a closer look at FTX's books this week and said, no way. Now, why don't we go to Twitter to mine for some wisdom from some very smart users? Now, this guy pretending to be Elon Musk called cryptos an unregulated Ponzi scheme. Meanwhile, this talking flower told her 3 followers that crypto investors deserve to lose all their money. But where were they last year? Now let's end this with a meme from Rasta Studio NFT that raises a valid point. With prices at 2-year lows, is it time to buy crypto or say buy crypto?
And there's news of yet more job losses at a tech giant, this time from Mark Zuckerberg's Meta. The company that owns Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp has announced it'll cut 30% of its workforce, which means 11,000 people will be laid off. Zuckerberg says the cuts are the most difficult changes made in Meta's history. He's blamed massive long-term expectations on the firm's rise in revenue during the pandemic. It comes as other big tech companies like Twitter announced it would be cutting half of its staff as well.
I don't think this is necessarily an indication that the tech bubble is bursting, though it is significant. I think it's something a little bit less meaningful than that. It's the right sizing of some companies that previously maybe overhired in the last, not just 3 or 4 years, but maybe the more like 10 years or something like that. It's obviously a very significant moment and comes at a time when we've seen multiple companies getting rid of their staff. So not only have we seen Meta this week, but they were soon followed up by Spotify. We also saw Twitter earlier this month getting rid of half of their workforce, and that followed Stripe, which is another tech company that decided to lay off roughly the same proportion of users as Meta. So it's not necessarily the dot-com bubble 0.2, I don't think. I think it's actually something less significant than that, but no less disheartening for those involved. And it sort of suggests that tech companies have realised they're not going to have the same, what we'd call hockey stick growth, exponential growth that they maybe used to have in previous years.
Tech journalist Chris Stockel-Walker there. Now, a lot of Meta's ex-employees are upset they've been laid off, especially with Christmas just around the corner. Many have taken to TikTok to express themselves.
So it's been about an hour since I found out that I was laid off from Meta. I am part of the 11,000 employees that were laid off. This was literally like my dream job. And I was so proud of myself when I got it. And I'm still very proud of myself.
I was let go, along with 11,000 other employees at Meta, which really sucks. I was with the company for 6 years and supported so many different product rollouts.
I was part of the Meta layoffs this morning, and I am still processing what that means. Unfortunately, both my husband and I are now unemployed. My resume is in my Linktree. So if you know anyone looking for anyone with like project experience, program management, people management, operations, events, anything like that, I would love it if you let me know, because now I'm desperately looking for a job.
Right, time to turn to the US midterm election, where the political future of the country remains uncertain after millions cast their ballots earlier this week. It seems that for now, the Democrats have managed to defy what was described as a red wave from the Republicans. Our producer Wilson has been looking at how the elections defied expectations.
It's been 2 whole days since the U.S. midterm elections, and we still don't know which party is going to be in control of Congress. What we do know is that Democrats did well with young people. Republicans in the past have been able to rely on the votes of older people, but that might not be the case going forward. Ted Cruz, a Republican senator from Texas, had this hot take.
Look, why did the Democrats do better than expected? Because for 2 years, they've governed as liberals. They've governed as whacked-out lefty nut jobs. And you know what that did? That excited their base. That excited a bunch of young voters that came out in massive numbers, because when you actually stand for something, your base gets excited.
But is it really true that young people are running towards Democrats or just away from far-right Republican policies? In June, the U.S. Supreme Court overturned abortion rights. That means that abortion was a huge issue in this election. Also an important factor in this election was Donald Trump. Candidates who endorsed his big lie about the 2020 election lost in large numbers. That's good news for people worried about the health of U.S. democracy and the risk of political violence.
And lurking behind everything in American politics is, of course, social media. The biggest story in that industry remains Elon Musk's purchase of Twitter, but some are worried that his fellow investors could use it to try and influence American society or politics. Here's what US President Joe Biden had to say about that.
Mr. President, do you think Elon Musk is a threat to U.S. national security, and should the U.S., and with the tools you have, investigate his joint acquisition of Twitter with foreign governments, which include the Saudis?
I think that Elon Musk's cooperation and/or technical relationships with other countries is worthy of being looked at. Whether or not he is doing anything inappropriate, I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting that it's worth being looked at. But that's all I'll say.
All right, on to what's trending. What would you do for love? Well, Princess Martha Louise of Norway has caused quite a stir in her homeland. She is quitting her royal duties to focus on alternative medicine with her American fiancé, Durek Verrett, a so-called spiritual guru. What can we say? The heart wants what it wants.
I'm a sixth-generation shaman, worldwide bestseller of the book Spirit Hacking. When I was a kid, my ancestors gave me the gift of shamanism. And since then, I've been using my powers to travel around the world, putting the power back in people's hands, lecturing and sharing my wisdom with everyone.
Now, Durek Verrett suggested in his book Spirit Hacking that cancer was a choice. And he sells a medallion on his website which says helped him overcome COVID-19. Britain's Mail Online reported the princess will keep her royal title despite no longer being a working royal. Gertz Royal says that before the announcement, a number of princesses' patronages and all medical organisations had planned to drop her as a patron. And a tweet from Monarchists of America supports the princess's right to make her own choices, but says this is definitely an interesting one. The heart wants what it wants, we guess. And speaking of royals, Britain's King Charles and his wife Camilla were given the eggy treatment on a visit to the northern town of York. The couple quickly scrambled for cover after a protest threw eggs at them. Luckily for them, his aim was off. Climate activist Patrick Falwell was later arrested by police. While they whisked him away, he shouted, "This country was built on the blood of slaves, and you're not my king." And here's one of those eggs mid-air in this perfectly timed photo on its way towards the king. So what are the netizens saying about this? This woman says the protester deserves to be arrested. His behaviour backfired, and the incident actually bolstered support for the royal couple. This person asked, why stop with an egg when he could throw a full English breakfast? I wouldn't do that myself. And there were plenty of condolences like this one. Damien sent the eggs, thoughts, prayers, and regrets. And that brings us to the end of today's newsfeed. Find this show on YouTube and do subscribe to our channel whilst you're there. Bye, see you at the same time tomorrow.